Welcome to the Sonic Days podcast, home of all things audio. This season was recorded live at Sonic Days 2024. In this episode, we're diving into the world of AI in podcast production. Marcel Mirzaei-Fard, tech analyst and host of the DR program Prompt, joins Finn Markwardt to discuss how artificial intelligence is transforming the way podcasts are created.
Okay, welcome here to my very honored special guest, Marcel Mirzaei-Fard from Prompt, Danmarks Radio, the tech program Prompt. And we're going to talk about producing podcasts with AI and new technology. And could you just briefly tell what's the Prompt about, actually? What's this podcast you have?
So we launched Prompt 1.5 years ago. It was on the edge of the ChatGPT boom. I'll start to say sorry for my bad English. We had some English-speaking folks around here, so I'll do my best. It's not there that I can use AI as a translation tool
not yet
live, so I'll need to use my own brain. Yeah, so we launched this program 1.5 years ago. In the beginning, it was only about AI. Now it's a broader tech program about social media as well, about Musk. We talk a lot about Elon Musk, stuff like that. So yeah, it's like we try to take a critical approach to technology, but also like just sometimes just show some wow features and software that just hits us and like wow. So we try to mix that together, me and my co-host, who's Henrik Molke, the tech correspondent of Danmarks Radio.
Great. And first of all, we very often, all of us talk about AI as if we knew what it was. Could you just, is there any definition of it? Or
even the most profound professors, they cannot agree on the definition, really. I like to think about AI that it's using the machine to do something that would normally be necessary to use the brain. The human intelligence. That could be writing something, that could be being creative, that could be handling your car, something that would usually require you to think and experience and handle, use the brain, that we get the computer to do that.
Okay. And where are we right now? We've been talking this...
It's a dark time.
Yeah, it's a dark time.
But artificial intelligence has been around since maybe the 50s, something like that. There was also here, there's some debate about how it started. I'm not going to give you the big history around here, but think about it. It started before the computer or with the first computers. And then a lot of stuff happened, and then ChatGPT happened 2 years ago, I would say. And basically, there's two schools of artificial intelligence. One is symbolic AI. That is, the professor writes some rules into the computer. Like we can think about for a car, for instance. If you see a pedestrian here, stop.
Good idea.
Good idea, right? So the engineer writes that into the system. That's the symbolists. With ChatGPT, that is of the school we call machine learning, which is more like you put a lot of data into the machine and show it more and more examples of something. So if you want to make a music AI creator, you have to show it, of course, a lot of music of different genres that you'd like. And then when it's seen enough examples, and here we are maybe talking millions of examples, it finds some patterns in the music. And in the end, it will be able to make some new outputs that I'm sure we're going to talk about today. And that's the school of machine learning. And that's where all the hype goes now. All the money, all the hype. Everyone is hyped about generative AI, about machine learning at the moment. Mostly because of what we saw with ChatGPT. But that's just text as an output. There could be music as an output. There could be sound effects as an output. Images, videos, stuff like that. So that's been in my head for the last 1.5 years. That's generative AI, and it's quite interesting. It's also sometimes too overhyped, I think, because yeah, we can get back into that. But sometimes when you've seen too many AI generated photos, you'll be like, don't show me any more of this. I've seen enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a pattern so we can actually tell whether it's text or music or images or what it is, that this is AI generated?
For me, as kind of an expert or whatever, I feel like I know it when I see it. ChatGPT text. There's some words that it likes to use. And the same goes for if you generate a picture of in Dolly or something like that. I'll be like, instantly I can see that. I went to my post office the other day, and he got the new big sign, and I could just see, you generate this in Dolly, right? And I was like, what? Fair enough, why not? But it's like, and it's fine if you cannot afford to make a real cool image, but I just feel like we can get enough of all this AI-generated slop in the end. And to do something fantastic with AI, you need to make a good prompt, and you maybe need to do it hundreds of times. And maybe it was easier to just make it yourself in the beginning. Of course, you can make a draft very fast with generative AI, but to make something that's just as good as a professional, for instance, sound engineer or a musician or whatever, they'll maybe take longer than you think. So to get from the phase of being a party trick into something that people actually want to hear again and again, well, I never heard an AI made 100% music track that I like to hear, that I want to go to a concert to see. Not yet.
When we look into the world of sound, and of course especially into podcasts, then there are several tools you can use actually. And especially for the voice, of course, there are a lot of possibilities now that you can use. Maybe you can go through some of them.
Yeah. Those you might know better, I guess, but we just talked about, for instance, cleaning up voice. That is AI. What's funny about AI in that sense is that when it's really a cool tool, it's not necessarily called AI. Actually, when it turns from being hype into a real tool, sometimes it's not called anything with AI. And that goes for tools like voice isolator. I mean, it's fantastic to have a scratchy phone call interview that you can clean up and make it sound like we were in the same room, for instance. And I guess those tools, I don't know which suite you use, but is in the Adobe, for instance, in the Adobe suite. And that's perfectly fine for me. Also, it's very good at translating stuff, especially into English. It's very good for that. I've heard people using it for making the master. In the end, it's not as good as a real master, but maybe it's like 80% or 70%.
Yeah, if you're not a pro, then
for me, like, it would be perfect. I mean, I'm not sure what a mastering is. And that's a pattern, because for a non-journalist, I'm a journalist, you might go into ChatGPT and make a news story about this. And for like 70 or 80% will be like, that's a news story. But for me, I've seen thousands of news stories. I'll be like, well, you didn't have the right starting words or whatever. I'll see those details. And the same will you do in your field. So I usually say AI is better than the most, but worse than the best in a way. And that goes for whatever it is. So that's why you're going to get a job. You're not going to be fired. But yeah, you can leave the room now. That was what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Was that what was your question?
Yeah, I think you answered it actually.
Yeah. So that's a lot of boring tools. Just use them, of course, with caution. Those tools existed also before ChatGPT, and they grown. The good thing is here that a lot of money and hype has gone into the development, and things has just gone better. The voice isolator is much better. But of course, you have to discuss with yourself whether you want it, because you put in something artificial into it. And sometimes when it's too noisy or too difficult to hear what's actually being said, the AI will maybe guess. It'll create like a robot of the person speaking, and then put new words into the sentence. And sometimes, especially if you are dealing with, let's say, a Russian interview or some language you don't know, you would not notice if it just puts a random Russian words into the sentence. And that's dangerous, of course. So, I mean, like everything with AI, you really need to think before you do something. And don't make the machine do something that you don't know what is. And that's especially important for news broadcasting, I guess. Yeah, we need to be precise here. But I mean, for removing some noise, I have no problem. Just
there are several tools out there. One of them being used most is 11 Labs.
Yeah.
Probably, I think, for good overview of what's possible right now, we might probably could go in and look at it.
We had quite some fun in the show with 11 Labs. It's like a deep fake machine, I would say, which is funny itself. I made my co-host say a lot of crazy stuff with his permission, of course. What I think is like text-to-speech is like 20 years old. It's not a new technique, but it's just grown fantastic in a short time, I would say. And also it speaks Danish. In 11 Labs, it has a lot of language. It works fine. You have some pre-made professional voices that you can use. Let's hear Michael, for instance.
It is a profound truth that the deep things in science are not found because they are useful. They were found because it was possible to...
Yeah, you have different professional voices. There's a lot of them for different genres, and they sound...
Ideas are the beginning points of all fortune.
They sound pretty good, and you just write a text. You put in your manuscript into this thing, and then you have something to start editing in. If you have a big host that usually he will come once in a month or something, you can just start with this. You can have his voice in here. I have my own voice in here, of course, and I just wrote I asked ChatGPT to write a serial introduction, something, and I came up with this.
It started with a message. Just a simple, almost unremarkable email that landed in my inbox on a Tuesday morning. The sender was anonymous, but the message was clear. What you think you know is...
This is the accent that I would like to have. It's like British, very nice. It started with a letter. So this is a nice start, in a way. Maybe we should just try to make like a AI podcast demo, kind of. So let's say this is the speak. I'll download it here. Then I'd like to have some nice serial-like music. We have to build up some suspense. I'll go into, there's a couple of tools here. One is Suno. Another one is called Udio that can generate a song with a text prompt. So here I would like a podcast background, ambience, synth, 80s style, mysterious. Do we need more? Should we put more words into it?
Yeah, come on.
What should we go for? Minimalistic. I hope I have enough credit. With pauses, okay. What is that? That's the... Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other words we need to put into it? Up tempo? Okay. Let's go for this. Yeah, and I've set it should be instrumental because otherwise, of course, we can't use it. It's quite fun to make some songs with lyrics. It speaks Danish, but it's not. It's better for instrumental, I would say. Also, there's, of course, a lot of copyright discussions in this because...
We can take that in the end.
We can take that in the end. I think they've just stole music and put into this machine. And now it's difficult to prove for the musicians that they've did that. But if you I tried to ask it to make a song that sounded like Earth, Wind and Fire. And it sounded totally like Earth, Wind and Fire. And I was like, it could never make this without hearing Earth, Wind and Fire. So
you have also this Kim Larsen example.
Yeah.
With the Danish singer, Kim Larsen, he's just totally copied.
It's very slow now. I made one before. I thought it was okay. Let's hear this one. With the words ambient, mysterious, synthwave. I don't know. For me, it sounds. What do you think? Is it?
It's not the 80s.
It's not the 80s? Or is it then? It's...
But this was not the same words, was it? It was maybe
some of the same words.
Some of the yeah.
I think this one it's maybe it's stuck somewhere. I'll put this song into like here. And I'll put my speak as well in here. And we know with serial stuff, they're just like a lot of pauses. So I'll just put some pause into it. Because 11 Labs don't like pauses for some reason. I'll put one in here, here, and put one in here. I don't know what I'm saying here, but I guess there needs to be a pause. Okay, then, I mean, let's just hear that.
It started with a message. Just a simple, almost unremarkable email that landed in my inbox on a Tuesday morning. The sender was anonymous, but the message was clear. What you think you know is only half the story.
Something like that. So it's like, it's totally crap. It's all AI generated with ChatGPT text and Suno made music and 11 Labs made voice. But it sounds like the real deal in some way. Of course, I know what you're thinking. You're like, this is not real. This is not a real deal. But it's something like it. So we could maybe... What else do we need? Hindenburg actually tells us that we need some clean sound.
Yeah.
And we could go into the real world and record some clean sound. But no. It's too expensive and too... I mean, it's snowing out there. So let's make it in the computer instead. And they launched a tool called Sound Effects. This is not as good as the other thing, I would say. This is very much in beta. And I think lots of you guys might have some folders with some soundscapes somewhere. And those might be much better than this. But let's just try to do it, just to see what it can do. What soundscape should we make? Is it where should the story take place? Should we have some cityscape? Summertime. Maybe a country?
India?
Okay. Yeah, let's try that. Sometimes it has a very fun imagination of like interpreting your words. Okay, let's hear what's cityscape, summertime, India. What's that? Is that a tuk-tuk? It's not that bad, actually. I mean, for most people, this will, work.
Yeah,
I guess it comes in a low quality. You have to notice that. Let's put that into the project as well.
It started with a message. Just a simple, almost unremarkable email that landed in my inbox on a Tuesday morning.
It's good at making a draft for something, or like you don't need to hire an actor to do the speak, and you can like get going with the music fast. Actually, what's funny about this with the music, you can go very specialized. Sometimes the creativity happens with the mix of the human being and the machine. It's our words, it's our ideas that's put into the machine, and it's that computer interpretation that makes it kind of fun to work with.
Yeah.
Is this better than going into to Upright and find like real professional made soundscapes or background music, ambient music? No, I don't think so. Not yet.
But doesn't it depend on what you need?
Yeah,
if you have making a cheap presentation of something for a company, some boring Wednesday morning, and say, okay, we have some background music here. Would that be okay? Or
what I think here is you're not going to be fired, but there's a lot of B-list and C-lists commercials and podcast production and stuff like that, where people in maybe 10 years ago, they'll be like, okay, I definitely need to have a sound engineer to help me with this. And those people, they could get going without a sound engineer. I'm sorry. And that's what's happening in many fields. Those who's being fired in journalism, That's the freelancers, maybe. Maybe they had a few tasks that people go like, I'll just use ChatGPT for that. It's easier. Yeah, I think our song is ready, by the way.
Yeah, let's listen. Yeah. Up tempo.
I don't know about minimalistic.
Minimalistic, yeah. Yeah, it emphasized the word arpeggiator, yeah, I guess. And the pauses, yeah, we didn't get to hear
There's
them.
another version also, right?
That's better.
Now minimalistic is...
This is better. This could work. I think so. It's pretty close, actually.
Den fint lavet med 89.
Yeah, we have a guys who lived in the 80s, so...
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Where were we?
Yeah, but actually, I think you went pretty well through some of the possibilities.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to the speech thing, because now we only tried the text-to-speech, and you didn't have any chance to decide whether you would be aggressive in your speech, or you be happy, or would you be slow, or would you be something.
Yeah, you have a few sliders here, and I find them quite difficult to use. It's not like you don't have a text prompt field that you could write. How should it be interpreted? No, not how should it be spoken. Spoken, yeah, exactly. Sorry. But we have a solution for that. And maybe
that's what I am. But you just go, because the solution is what?
The solution could be what they call a voice changer, and this is where you can actually have a professional speaker or yourself speaking into a microphone, and then then you can put an AI on top of that, in a way. And this could also work in different languages. So I could speak something here, and I could have another voice on top of that. I don't know. I know you have a clip.
Yeah.
Should we put that on now? Maybe it makes sense.
Yeah, maybe we could do that, because you made the last episode.
Oh, I can tell about yes, but we had on the show last week. We had a speaker he's speaking the famous show in Denmark called Løvens Hule. He's the speaker of Sound og Monopolet, and
the voice of P4.
Voice of P4, the biggest radio station in Denmark. And he had a brain stroke in the brain, and he lost his voice. I mean, he's worked 20 or 30 years with his voice, and that's terrible for him, of course. He loses clients, and he sounds... We can hear that in the clip. Unfortunately, it's in Danish. But you'll hear him speak with his new voice, and I'll help him put this AI on top of it. And
I think we should listen now, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. I think everybody will see. He's going to use some of the tools that we have here. I think even if you don't understand it Danish, then you'll find out.
Jesper Dein, legendarisk speaker og vært, har levet af sin stemme i årtier. Mm-hmm. Det er ham, der er kanalstemme på P4.
Du lytter til Sara og Monopolet på P4.
Indtil for nylig vært på Kulturen på P1. Det er ham, der speaker Løvens Hule.
Ægteparret Simone og Gamal har på kort tid skabt sig en god forretning, men er den uden huller i osten for løverne.
Han lever af sin stemme.
Og han har en super fed stemme.
Ja. Men pludselig så en dag, så slår lynet ned, og han fik en hjerneblødning. Og en af konsekvenserne ved det er, at hans stemme er forandret en hel del. Den er ikke ødelagt, men den er anderledes. Mm. Prøv at forestille dig det her med, at din stemme, dit arbejdsværktøj lige pludselig bare bliver taget væk. At det, du har bygget op igennem 20-30 år, forsvinder. Og grunden til, at vi har inviteret ham ind i et tech-program, det er jo selvfølgelig, at han nu går og overvejer, hvad kan jeg gøre med kunstig intelligens? Kan jeg genskabe min stemme, så jeg kan bruge den i mit arbejde? Til at være vært, eller til at speak nogle podcast, forskellige ting. Og vil han overhovedet det, hvis han får mulighed for at gøre det? Lad os få ham ind. Jesper Dein.
Hej.
Velkommen til.
Tak skal du have.
Du er vært på Kulturen på P1, eller har været?
Jamen, det er jo det, der er lidt interessant, for det er sådan et limbo, vi er i lige nu. Kan du også høre på stemmen, hvis du lytter med derude og ikke ved, hvem jeg er. Ja. Fordi det her er jo ikke min rigtige stemme. Jo, det er det, men er det det? Ja. Det var i hvert fald ikke sådan, jeg lød for 7 måneder siden. Nej. Så det, jeg står i nu, det er jo faktisk, det er et kardinalpunkt, ikke? Hvor jeg skal tænke om, jamen skal jeg nu, når jeg laver radio for kulturen, skal jeg lave, når jeg laver speaks, det her Marcel og Henrik, der arbejder på prompt, med den her stemme, eller skal jeg få 11 Labs til at lave den om? Og derfor så tog jeg jo tidligt, fordi jeg var træt af min egen stemme, kontakt til 11 Labs, og fik lavet det, der hedder en pro-udgave af min stemme.
Lad os prøve det. Ja. Altså lad os prøve det her, fordi det her, vi prøver nu, det er text-to-speech. Altså at du skriver, du har lavet den her robot med gamle optagelser, og så skriver du noget, og så siger den det med AI Jesper-stemmen.
Lige præcis.
Ja.
Og jeg har faktisk forberedt mig lidt, og skrevet en tekst her, og det kan vi jo lade den læse højt. Nu trykker jeg.
Halløj, kære promptlyttere. Det her er, som jeg lød for 7 måneder siden. Det var dengang alt fungerede uden problemer, og jeg kunne råbe højt og lave introspeak til Løvens Hule. Jeg kunne sige sætninger som for eksempel denne her. Næste iværksætter er Henrik Moltke, der har opfundet en ny type bilbatteri, som kan oplades på kun 2 minutter i et almindeligt strømstik.
Ja, for eksempel. Ikke? Og den ligger, sådan lød jeg. Der er noget med nogle betoninger, hvis man skal gå lidt på den. Det ved I mere om en jakker. Men ellers er det jo meget tæt på, hvis man lavede et radioindslag og skulle lave nogle speaks, så er der jo ikke meget, det er jo ikke meget langt fra den originale, vel?
Jeg kunne godt tænke mig, at vi prøver et nyt værktøj i 11 Labs, som jeg viste dig.
Ja, og det er meget nyt. Det er så nyt, så det har jeg ikke selv arbejdet med, så der skal du nok hjælpe mig lidt.
Så det prøver vi nu. Det er så voice to voice, kan man sige.
Ja,
det er
speech to speech.
Speech to speech, ja.
Okay.
Du speaker noget med din stemme, med din intonation, med din energi, som den nye Jesper Dein efter hjerneblødningen, og så putter vi AI Jesper oven på det.
Okay. Så jeg trykker record audio, og så gør det bare?
Ja,
alright.
Og så trykker du på den der, ja. Yes. Og du skal gøre det med den energi, du plejer at speak med.
Ja, jeg prøver. Ja, så meget jeg nu kan mønstre med den her stemme, skal du
selvfølgelig.
Huske,
ja.
Jeg prøver. Ja. Velkommen til Prompt, DR's program om tech og kunstig intelligens i særdeleshed. Dine værter er Marcel Mirzaei-Fard og Henrik Moltke. Lad os komme i gang. Lad os høre, hvad den siger.
Velkommen til Prompt, DR's program om tech og kunstig intelligens i særdeleshed. Dine værter er Marcel Mirzaei-Fard og Henrik Moltke. Lad os komme i gang.
Yeah.
So that's quite different from the text-to-speech here. It listens to how he pronounces every word with which energy he uses. So that makes it much more realistic, I would say. And then it also adds some new discussions about what's the real voice, in a way, because he used his own voice that was 1 year old.
Yeah, and not playing, of course, the entire show here. Could you tell what was his considerations about it, and how did he feel about it, actually?
Well, he was... at first, he was like, wow, it sounded like me, because it was my voice. But it's still artificial, and it's not his new me. And what we are thinking about is, if you could do this live, and I think there are some companies that are working on this, being able to speaking live with an AI in between, would you do that? Like, it would be cool, but it's not your real voice. And that's what we need to remember. It's just a machine.
Yeah.
It's all artificial. On the other hand, if he can get a job with his sound engine, with his old voice, he said, like, I still need the money. I've lost my clients. Yeah. So, but I think in the end, he said he would not use this because of he wants to be loved for the voice that he has now.
Yeah. So I just heard yesterday some talking about a guy reading sound books, and he had got an offer now from publisher, of course, that they would like to buy his voice.
They'll buy his voice.
Yeah, so you could say, okay, you come here and you speak. Probably they already have enough material for it, and then can we make and use some new sound books with your voice? And what should his answer be? See, if he says no, then he'd probably choose somebody else.
I'll see what they'll offer, but you need to maybe calculate how many jobs do I not get in the future if I just sell my voice engine? Also, I didn't tell you how easy it is to make those voices. It's like it just needs 1 minute of clean speak. Then you have the robot. It'll be better if you have 3 hours.
Your voice, is that the pro version or is it the free version?
That's a free version. Yeah. This is like just 1 minute of my speak I've put into the Marcel robot.
And everybody can do it.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's very cheap. The professional ones are better, but it's not like miles away from the freemium. What I like about audiobooks narration is that sometimes I go into Audible or something like that, and I cannot find a narrated version of the book that I want, and that's too bad. I wanted to have a good automated narration of that. That'll be fine. But does that take away the job from the real narrator? Maybe it does in the end. But also it makes it possible for me to listen to this book that otherwise I couldn't do. So that's the difficult situation. There are some jobs that can easily be replaced with an AI, and narration, of course, one of them. But still, here, I guess we will start to appreciate the human touch more. We will be able to see what's artificial and what's not artificial easier, because we've seen so much AI crap posted by Elon Musk and Donald Trump, for instance. And we'll easier for the new generations, they'll just see it like this. And I think the same goes for the robots. We should have much more focus on this to identify what's real and what's not real. Maybe we should have like a stamp or something that says generally human made, and put that into the real good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go to something else. Google Notebook.
Yeah.
LM is a tool.
This is like the second or third time after ChatGPT that I got like that wow feeling. And it's quite a boring tool actually. And the name is the most boring I've ever heard, Notebook LM. But the idea is that this is your own machine that you put some text into. And it was like a tool meant for maybe journalists or whatever to put a lot of PDFs into this machine, or links, or like you have this book you're working on and you have like different chapters over here, for instance, and different links and video stuff like that. You put that into the machine, but then they added a feature which I feel like it was a very small team working on this at Google, and it was a podcast creator, and it got really viral. Because it was able to make a real podcast out of just a slideshow or a PDF, very boring PDF, whatever you gives it. And it'll make a full show of 2 podcast hosts jabbing about. Should we hear that?
Yeah, I think we should hear it now, because I made one. And the crazy thing is that when I talk with you this morning, I say, I made a podcast about. What I asked it to do was, I put in here, make a podcast about Sonic Days. That's it. And not about Sonic Days, but sonicdays.com.
You gave it the link, yeah.
Like, you gave it the link, and that was it. Yeah. And now we can hear it here.
Okay, folks, buckle up, because today we are diving deep.
Deep?
Yeah, deep into something super cool.
Oh, yeah.
Sonic Days 2024.
Sonic Days.
You heard that right. An audio industry event happening in Kolding, Denmark.
Kolding, Denmark.
On November 20th and 21st. And get this, it's totally free.
Free, wow.
Free, no catch.
That's pretty amazing.
I know, right? Like most industry events cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah, you're usually looking at hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars.
Exactly. And this is free for everyone.
That really opens it up to, well, anyone.
I know, that's what I'm excited about.
Definitely.
So let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive in.
So Sonic Days 2024.
November 20th and 21st.
Mark your calendars, folks.
Big red circle.
It's aimed at everyone in the audio world.
Doesn't matter if you're a seasoned pro or just starting out.
Like if you're just curious about sound.
Anyone who's interested in the future of audio, basically.
Future of audio.
That's what it's all about.
Exactly. And the fact that it's free.
Huge deal.
It makes it accessible to literally anyone.
Students, hobbyists, anyone can come and learn and network and just be a part of the community.
It's all about breaking down those barriers.
Absolutely.
So who's behind this awesome event?
Well,
Drum roll, please.
Sonic College.
Sonic College.
They're a leading institution for audio education in Denmark.
Based in Demel.
Kolding,
Denmark.
Yeah, they've got a stellar reputation in the audio world.
They're all about shaping the next generation of sound professionals.
Yeah, they're super innovative.
I was looking at their website, and it sounds like they're bringing in a huge network of guest lecturers for this.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Think about the connections you could make.
Yeah, you could meet some of the top minds in the field.
Get your foot in the door.
Learn from the best.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk about the program.
Okay, what kind of topics are they covering?
It's pretty diverse. I mean, they have tracks on everything.
Everything. Spill the beans.
Sound for film and TV.
Classic.
New concert formats.
Interesting.
Podcasts.
Hey, that's us.
Sound in museums.
Ooh, that's a niche one.
Immersive music.
Love that.
Interactive audio.
That's cutting edge.
Game audio.
Big industry these days.
Audio technology, and probably even more.
Wow, that's quite the lineup.
I know, right? There's something for everyone.
It really seems like they're trying to showcase the breadth of the audio world.
Definitely.
Did you tell them that it was free? I don't know.
Where should I pay for this event?
No, and this is really, when I tried this, it's 4 minutes long. It took 2 minutes to generate. So it's really crazy, right? So when I had the same feeling here, it's okay. This is really
something, yeah.
This is something, right? Because you can do something that really sounds pro, but you have tried it more than I have. Could you tell a little about the pros and cons of this one?
Well, let's start with the cons. It's not real, and another con is here is that I get the feeling that it's very funny the first time and the second time and the third time, but then it gets boring. Because you see a pattern in it. Like, this was very fun, actually, I would say. But I've heard so many now that I'm, okay, it has no soul. It has no, it's not a human. But what's fascinating here is that how good the quality is. I mean, if the task is to interpret how two human beings would be having a podcast dialogue, it's like very close. It's very fucking good. So many details they have that are actually difficult to tell people how to make a podcast. Like, you need to be fresh and like yourself, and like don't just read up the
interrupting each other all the time.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. It's very. They've done a good job here. So obviously, people would be like, "This is the future of podcasting. That this is everyone can make a podcast in seconds." I'm not so sure. Because who wants to listen to a robot talking? I don't think I would do it.
Do you think we have this is now is probably peaking for probably also some birthday greetings or a party?
Yeah, exactly.
A birthday podcast about my mother.
Yeah,
turning something.
Like I think there should be a rule that. I don't want to see your ChatGPT answers anymore. Like we did that 2 years ago. You'll be writing, "Oh, look what ChatGPT answered me on this one," and now it'll be like, "Okay, I don't want to see that anymore." And maybe it would be the same with this one. First one is funny. Second one is okay. Third one, I don't want to hear anymore of your podcast.
But they're going to be better now,
yeah,
right?
they're going to be better. Yeah. I've just heard about something called Playnote, in which you should be able to upload, for instance, your own voice. And I guess in the future you'll be able to make it like we did in Hindenburg with music and soundscape and stuff like that. So everyone can make the daily show, kind of. And that would be fun for Novo Nordisk or something to, or like just a small department in any company to be able to make a podcast just about their very tiny specific field. That's a good opportunity. And that's a podcast that would maybe not be made otherwise, because they'll not have the money to hire a podcaster to look into this very specific topic. That's where I think AI is for the good. I mean, it's going to make a nice draft or a nice 80-90% version of something that would otherwise not be made because you cannot afford it. And the way I like to use AI is that I like to use it for tasks that bores me, or that you get what I say here is like we should not make it replace us in fields like creativity, and like the good ideas should be human made, but all the boring stuff, make the AI do that. I mean, so you could get more time to like be twiddling with small stuff and what the creativity.
Actually, what you also talked about, I came from radio, doing radio by tape and cutting tapes and all that stuff. And I was there when the first computers came and we started, okay, the tape is going to get away. Okay, it was probably not happen, it did happen, right? And then I really found out that the same talks that we have now is so similar because we thought, okay, now we are going to be unemployed, all of us, because it's now so easy that everybody can bar up and you can just drag and drop and you have all files right here. You don't have to go anywhere, don't have to record them because you have all this stuff. And of course, it changed a lot about a lot of technicians in DR are not there anymore. But probably it's not for the bad because we started then doing something else, like have collecting some journalistic skills and you suddenly talked them out more about telling a story and these kind of things, and then changed the work changed. And
but it changed in that way that things have gone more simple. And today I make the podcast myself. I have no sound engineer to help me making the master, or I don't have anyone to. I could really use one, but I don't have it, and that's what's maybe going to happen for things are going to be cheaper and easier, and you need to find into the heart of what you are very good at. If you don't know these tools, you're not able to beat them in a way. That's why you should be able to make a track in Udio, for instance, or in Suno, because you need to be able to hear those small differences between an AI-made track and a real track. And in that way, same for the podcast. I mean, this podcast is much better than if I'll ask my mom to make a podcast. She'll be like, goddag og velkommen til mit program om, du ved. And this is like much better. So we need to be on the toes here in whatever field we're at. But I just don't think it as something that we'll all be fired in a couple of months. But maybe there'll be fewer of you, and maybe there'll be fewer of us journalists. I don't know, but I don't think we're all going to be fired.
I have to say, time's up. And thank you for coming, really. And the last thing I would do is taking this one and just play a song I made.
Oh, you made a song?
Yeah,
wow.
I made a song.
Let's hear your song.
Yeah, it's Marcel's Happy Days.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was about Marcel and Sonic Days, and Electropop was the one. So let's hear it. And thank you for coming. And you can just... So we go. Så vi bare ud. Tak, Marcel.